The Forgotten Science of Human Potential and Spiritual Evolution. This is Professor Matt. Thank you so much for watching. As always, love you guys. If you're looking to support me, the links will be down below. Let's just dive right in. I want this video to be a pretty simple beginning to end explanation of the science, again, of human potential specifically when it comes to the spirit or the spiral nature of our being. This is going to be a really important topic um, because I think this is the future of humanity. So if you like my content, please make sure you like, subscribe, follow me, pass the video around. Please, we all have a responsibility to share in these messages. There's a lot of misinformation and a lot of bad data that's coming to the forefront. People are getting distracted. So without further ado, let's dive right in. What do I mean by the forgotten science of human potential? Well, for thousands of years, we have done an excellent job in human history by evolving into the way that we're supposed to be evolving to further progress our species. This has been known for a very long time that we've not always had the upper hand when it comes to nature, and yet somehow we have survived here. And the modern world is going to try to make you believe that we did a horrible job into getting up until this point about 100 years ago when we had, modern medicine, the Industrial Revolution, all those things the last 200 years. Um, a lot of the modern world is going to tell you that we didn't know what we were doing. Couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, we understood the necessity for us as human beings to share a symbiotic relationship between ourselves and nature, which is something that we're actually neglecting to do now. Instead, now we're in this digitized zone. And the reason that we're in the digital world is because of what's called spiral mechanics or spiral dynamics in psychology. And also, it blends into other fields, not just psychology. But we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But essentially, our technology that we've created, cell phones, however you're watching this video, the computers, laptops, all that, this technology, although it's great and it's impressive, it's falling under a few specific natural laws or codes that the universe operates by. Number one, most cameras are made off of eyeballs. Most phones are made off of people. Most computers are made off of people, as in like the design. You've got a battery. We have a battery within our bodies. You have a processor. We have a processor within our bodies. You have an interactive, I guess you could say, face. And, we can read our faces and we're reading the faces of our phones as well. The cameras act like eyeballs. It's got a microphone where we can talk to it. And then it's got a speaker, like it's got its own mouth. It's got its own ears, right? So the only thing this thing barely does is breathe, but I guess if it overheats, it doesn't work, right? So it does also need to breathe too. So we've modeled all of our technology off of ourselves. Look at a car. A car has a face. It's got two eyes. It even looks like it kind of has like a mouth a little bit. And it's got four wheels, like we have four limbs. It's got a trunk. It's got, it's got a brain. It's got a motor. All of these things are very similar to, basically being modeled after the human condition to some degree. The human, it's very anthropomorphic, I guess you could say. So the reason for that is because of how our minds operate. Everything that we create, including ourselves, we create our own cells and they're copies of us. So naturally, anything that we create is going to be a mimicry of us as well, because God created us to be naturally wonderful, basically perfect as far as the system goes. Now, how we choose to treat the system is, the issue, right? So the modern world is not going to teach you anything about what you're going to see in this video. It focuses on mechanical materialism. They don't like to talk about myth. They want to separate the mind from the body. All of these are not as, important as understanding your your human condition, your human roots. So now we've had empiricism and all these other things that have propped up instead of understanding the inner alchemical process. And this is really what's been lost to us. So recently, we've really, as a species, we've really been getting into things like anatomy, astronomy, geometric harmonics, etc. What do I mean by any of this, right? So first and foremost, let's just, as an example, let's take a look at the fall of Rome. There's always art that has depicted the fall of Rome or other civilizations, and it's a scrambling, right? It's a mechanism of like people running and they're all over the place. And from a very high level, if you were to view this, it's almost like we're observing cells in a body, right? Like here's a little video that I have that I'll play for you, where think of each human individual as one of these cells. And there's tons of different types of cells. There are some cells that are healthy, some cells that are not, a lot of cells that group up together. Some white blood cells. That's what this video is. Uh, you know, it has this red circle around these white blood cells. All these cells act differently, but they all somehow magically work together towards some seemingly end goal. Do you think the cells know what the end goal is? Maybe, maybe not. We don't understand their full conscious sentience yet, really. We know that they work off of inputs and outputs, as do we. We as well, our neurology showcases that we work mainly off of inputs and outputs. We work cyclically, just like these cells. So if you understand dimensions, if you understand complexity, you'll see that everything is interconnected, right? So studying the oneness to complexity spiral, what this does is this looks at how particles, really small things, basically, how they evolve into larger things. Like how we have particles, we have planks that eventually become atoms, molecules, cells, all the way up to organs, and then the organism itself, right? So you've got all of these explanations. We won't get into like the science of it right now as far as like what all these like points mean. It has 0 point field quantum. So what this is, it's showcasing a toroidal field of energy. And if you've never been on my channel before, welcome. A torus field is the energy that all life houses, just like this. And it works spirally in nature. It is a spiritual process. I don't mean like religious, I mean spiritual as in its spirals. Okay, so to be a spiritual person, you have to be a spiral ritualist. You have to understand the actions, thoughts, and emotions that are supposed to be imbued in you every single day in order for you to accomplish your goals. And that's really what this video is about, the forgotten element of this. We have been learning so much in the last couple of decades. I would say like, really the last 100 years. We have learned so very much and re-remembered things about how all of creation is connected. So going back to this image, just like you have the particles and the atoms and the molecules, everything has to, whether it's on a small scale or a large scale, essentially act very similarly. The root of all creation is already established, and there's really no changing it, which means that everything that is coming out of the smallest elements are also feeding into the largest elements and vice versa. It is a symbiotic relationship between the stars, the planets, the sun, the moon, everything that you would perceive as like way larger than us. They work off of the same exact mechanics as we do. That's how we're able to form all these mathematical equations about things, and how we're able to create our own realities and establish a math and a science to reality itself. Otherwise, if everything was so chaotic, like a lot of atheistic people pretend like it is, if everything was just so random and so chaotic, math and science would not be measurable. There would be no stable foundation. Things would be changing way too often for you to measure them. So there's a system, there's patterns. And what our ancestors did was they became masters of these systems and patterns. And they understood that things were all interconnected. This is a harmonic sheet. So long story short, what this is supposed to showcase to you is how a lot of these frequencies are interconnected to a point where well, actually, I think a lot of these are wrong, but the whole point is these graphs exist. I think this is like an AI, AI generated one. These graphs exist to showcase how frequencies are evenly dispersed and evenly placed in order for like pure potential to arise from them. So think about it this way. Sound, as this example shows, sound is magnetism. It creates reverberations and vibrations. And sound can oftentimes actually lead to some kind of physical presence being left behind. It creates a frequency that, especially in the physical world, cannot be ignored by other physical objects. So if you understand the proper math and the patterns of the sound frequencies, and you can use that to even manipulate other people. Like the CIA has done lots of different, um, scientific studies and experiments. That was the word I was looking for. They've done a lot of experiments on human beings, on animals, on plants, and they have found that we interact, obviously, with sound to a degree where it could brainwash us. It can change our minds, right? It can control our minds. So if you understand the patterns, then you can actually get into other people's heads. Here's another one. This is a chromatic scale. So again, this is sound versus color ratios. And they all just evenly go about and create this beautiful symbol, which it's really zoomed in here, but this would be the flower of life, which is an ancient symbol which showcases the harmony of all measurable fields. In other words, when energy fields interact, there's only so many ways that they can actually like fully stabilize themselves. So they have to follow a certain set path. And just for whatever reason, the energy does actually do that. So sound frequencies, colors, right? Like you see a rainbow. This is a great example. I should have showed a picture of a rainbow. If you see a rainbow, it always looks the same, right? It's always basically gonna look the same if you see a real life rainbow in real life. The purple is generally on the bottom, the red is on the top, right? Which is actually an inversion from the chakra system where red is on the bottom and purple's on the top, right? Because we are an inverted creation, right? Everything about us is we're made as a shadow reflection of the divine creator. So we're seeing the rainbow in a different way, but the rainbow, you see the colors, they kind of blend together when it goes from color to color, but the colors are not random. You're not going to see a random rainbow of like interchanging colors. It works the same way that it does. There's a set frequency to each color, and they all sit in the field specifically, like the energy field, whenever a rainbow is created. So after we started to understand like wavelengths and frequencies, and our ancient ancestors had done this, they had understood these concepts. There are pillars like the Djed pillar from Egypt, which depicts a human being, oftentimes represents either a human being that is awakening into higher states of consciousness or a human being that has been, forcibly thrown into a lower state of consciousness. It could be either way. And this is all about like a spiral kind of staircase. It's like a winding, ascending, staircase that leads up. And it's very similar to a lot of the serpent iconography. We can find serpents in the Mesoamerican areas of the world. We find the caduceus, the twin serpents, coiled around the staff for the Greco-Roman Hermetic people and their belief system. And Hermeticism is a very deeply rooted fundamental belief system as well. And it's very esoteric, and it actually has a lot of depth when it comes to human life and experience that we might, have lost. Kundalini yoga from the Hindu areas of the world, from India, the Vedic information. That's also about two twin serpents that are coiled around the spine. And a lot of this symbolism is, again, just in reference to energy. So almost all symbolism that you see, for whatever reason, is about ourselves. It's about our relationship with the universe, with nature, and how our bodies are literally made in an image that is based off of all of creation. You have the big ball of light at the top, which would be like your brain. You've got the body, which is like the universe, and the interaction between the two. This is like going from heaven to purgatory to hell, and cyclically going all over the place with that. And in fact, when you read these stories, like Jesus is a great example. When he first dies, he goes into hell in order to save all of the lost souls. And then he goes into heaven. Read these mythological stories and see how easy it is for these characters, who are our heroes, which you're supposed to model yourself off of. See how easy and simple it is for these characters to leave places like hell, leave places like heaven, or leave purgatory, limbo. It's like they can, the hero, once awakened into who they really truly become, can go beyond all of those states. They can go to hell, heaven, whatever they want. And it's like, why would you want to go to hell? Well, Jesus chose to go to hell in order to free all the souls, right? Like there's purpose for everything. So it's not about like overlooking these things. everything has energy, and we have to understand this fully in order to understand reality. This is where collective consciousness comes in. If I have an energy field and you have an energy field, what happens when they interact? Well, then you have community, and we know what community looks like: church, temple, mosque, charity, corporations that are good, hopefully better corporations, not like the evil ones. But it can be evil. You can get a group of people together that want to change the world for the better and have a positive message. You can also get a group of people together that just want to establish deeper dominance and control over other people, and um, you know, uh, try to make as much money as possible and be evil, like, right? And this is what we call an egregore, when multiple people feed into the energy of an idea. So you could take anything from Jesus all the way to Satan, and they're both egregores, because it's just a neutral term. It means something that has an energy about it. So if I bring up Jesus Christ and you really love Jesus, you might feel overwhelmed with emotion. If I bring up Satan, you might be overwhelmed with fear or something along those lines. So an egregore is just how we process groupthink about a certain topic, a person, a situation, whatever, a location, right? Like if I bring up like a bad location, like if I were to say something like Detroit, Michigan, or whatever, which is generally stereotyped as a bad area, but I've also been to Detroit. It's really not that nice. Um, Sorry if you live in Detroit. But if I bring up Detroit, a lot of people are going to have like PTSD flashbacks if they've ever been there. But if I bring up another place that a lot of people really love, then, like Tokyo, Japan, then other people will be like, oh my God, I love Tokyo. And then they'll go into that. So it's really just about collective consciousness, groupthink, how we all perceive things. And that actually is shifting all the time. One new piece of information can completely dethrone or dehurdle or completely shift the trajectory of uh, something that's been established for a very long period of time. So that is really the essence of egregores. And what's funny is a lot of people try to change. It's the changing of these energy manifestations as we understand things, of how the elites establish more control over us. So we have to come together as communities to create better energy manifestations in order to conquer the people who are oppressing us. And really, it works in, again, a spiral like scale. You start with the physical, you get through the emotional, the mental. And then once you get through your own physical, emotional, and mental planes, then you get into the unity, right? So this is like thoughts, actions, and feelings, which I'm going to talk about. Then you get into the unity. Then you get into the spiritual, the divine, and then finally the oneness, which is also called monadic. And when we can reach the monadic experience individually, and then we can come into bigger groups that can understand that at a deeper level, that is where power truly arises. Really, at the end of the day, this is about the nervous system of your body. This is the lost, forgotten information that we have forgotten about. Because at the end of the day, chakras, as people call them, are just the endocrine glands and bioelectric nodes within the body. They're really just like large, very large nervous system points. Meridians that are used in a lot of Chinese ancient alchemical medicine practices are really just understanding your fascia, which are like the muscle. It's like the hypercrystalline interconnected system within your muscle framework within the body. And it is piezoelectric, which means that it houses electric signals and charge. So if you have pain in your body, a lot of that is because you have blocked nervous system points. Nadis, aura, these are all the same things. We have biophotons, we have electromagnetic fields within the body. This is not, crackpot new age stuff. This is real science. So we are putting out energy as, we take in energy, whether that be light, whether that be sound or food or anything. So consciousness is really about, people maintaining awareness, um, at a higher degree. What is this? Consciousness beyond the brain, right? Consciousness persists during NDEs. Memory formation involves light, vibration, and quantum processes. So really, everything at the end of the day is a stimuli of light. And we do have these biofields, electromagnetic, neural oscillations. That means like, your brain, for example, right, is constantly in flux. It's in a flux oscillation. It's going all over the place within the brain and like throwing a ball back and forth. That's what it feels like in our minds. Like we're always thinking about stuff. Photonic emissions, our bodies, as we take in energy, they also give off energy too. Toroidal fields and acoustic resonance. Like Our body, even in a silent space, is also creating noise. It's always creating a heartbeat. So there's always vibration around you. You can never change that ever in your entire life. So there's a lot of science that shows that, like neuroscience and a lot of our ancient practices are very interconnected. You know, you've got like the observer effect and things like that. But it comes down to mind, body, and spirit. Really, what it comes down to is actions, feelings, and thoughts. Okay. So here are some techniques on how you can shift your frequency, how you can elevate yourself. Breath work is a big one. Visualization, like mental visualization, sound frequency healing, meditation. You can try fasting, although you got to be careful with that one. And then movement and yoga. Like just really stretching and getting a lot of that blood flow and a lot of that tension out of the body, because it does cause blockages. And if your body has blockages, you're not going to be able to manifest the things that you desire in your life. So just keep that in mind. Um, and then I would say really it's just a matter of cultivating this and changing your lifestyle so that you can follow a deeper awakening and also have a healthier life in general, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. We have to cover all bases here when it comes to things like this. So let me showcase to you what I mean. Um, in the body, most people are actually living in the lower neural system of the body, and a lot of them are overeating, a lot of them are oversexed, a lot of them lack empathy, they lack cognitive full conscious awareness. And really it's a mechanism of how well you can keep uh this entire organism operated to its fullest potential. It is not about raising your frequency field into your brain all the time. That is kind of this lie that's been perpetuated by the new age system. And the reason why is because if you're living in your brain all the time, you don't get any physical, like lower world energy, and it drains you of energy. It causes psychosis, and it makes it so that you'll just be a follower rather than a leader, because you'll convince yourself that you're leading your life when really it's somebody else telling you what to do. Your intuition guides you specifically, and that's rooted in your body. This is why women have better intuition than men. So ultimately, you have three brains. You have the top brain in the head, you have your heart, and then you have your gut genital microbiome, which is like your intuitive brain. This is where you feel a lot of your emotions, right? You don't really feel your emotions in your brain. You feel them like a little bit like around your heart, below your heart, in the gut area. That's because of all the nerves that we have here and the collection of energy and inputs. It's like a supercomputer. They call it the gut brain axis for a reason. And it is very deeply interconnected here. So, in other words, if you are not living your best life, if you're not living to your fullest potential, your life is going to become very difficult, and you're not going to be able to manifest essentially the lifestyle that you choose, because you're going to be out of alignment. The more in alignment that you are, and that includes every faculty, right? Like they never tell you, they say it's harder to get to the crown chakra. They don't say that it's more important to get to the crown chakra than it is the root chakra. If you're reading somebody say that, then they're wrong. It's about the balance of all seven chakras. It's the balance of all the minds within you. And it's about silencing the negativity and understanding the negativity, not just like throwing it away, but understanding why. When you say silencing the negativity, it's not about like ignoring. It's about understanding it so it's not so negative anymore. You can have like real positive conversation with yourself. But there are stages and levels to this, just like anything else. And this is why people have to be very cautious with the way that they start work like this. This is called spiral dynamics. It's something that I really appreciate. It's a psychological perspective. We start in the instinctive world. This is like the children, right? The animalistic, dominant, authoritarian, right? This is like what a lot of kids are for the most part. That not in like a negative way. It's not like I'm saying that all these kids are going around being rude, but this is how we operate in the world because we're trying to understand it. And you know, if a kid is like abused, then they're actually going to completely ignore these because they can't even grow. You know what I mean? It's like you have to go into the darkness of the world as a child, as a teenager, experiment with things, you know, go through your college years, your young 20s, and really start to see the world for what it is. And that what they've done, what the elites have done too, is they've hijacked a lot of these higher things, right? Oh, you know, we've got to focus on climate change. which cool, that's great, but most of those climate change organizations are bunk, and they just manipulate kids into doing, free work for them or giving them money. So what these elites have done is they understand these hierarchies. They understand that as people spiritually evolve, they want to be more holistic and systemic. They want to focus on community. They want to focus on changing the world for a positive way. So what they've done is they've created all these fake organizations that don't do anything, that we give all of our money to. And it's a way to hack the system from their perspective. Because if they can control the holistic narrative, if they can control how we operate from the good standpoint, then they can do whatever they want in these lower fields. And unfortunately, many of these people who all they want is money and power, they're still down here. They can't spiritually evolve. They're blocking themselves off. They have psychological issues, dark triad traits, like Machiavellianism and psychopathy and things like that. This is really a really good roadmap on how we evolve as human beings, right? Like you start out as like this little baby, and you're like, "Ooh, things are really cool," and it's like, "No, this is mine," and it's like, maybe I should share. Oh, okay, I can just work, by myself, and I'll figure stuff out. Okay, now I'm gonna share all of my findings with the community. Now I'm gonna figure out how to make it more interconnected, and now we're gonna go global. And this is really what a lot of people should be doing. This is how we should be evolving as human beings. Where yeah, we get through a lot of those earlier stages in our youth, and it's necessary. Just because a kid is like screaming and crying and wants his or her way, doesn't mean that they're a bad kid by default. You have to understand child psychology. They're figuring out ways to manipulate the system. They have to. This is how we survive. This is what's been rooted into us. This is why kids freak out, because they don't understand anything. So just keep that in mind, that it's really an evolution, right? You go from survival up to holistic life support. Okay, so really, what it means, again, this is like a cell, right? This is like the cell of a body, as we were talking about earlier. We everything from the smallest to the largest scale is all interconnected. The planets above have an influence on our cells down here. And here's the really cool part: our cells down here, if we work hard enough and we actually do enough good work, we can actually one day potentially control everything up there. That's at least what a lot of people think the goal is, leaving, going to Mars or whatever else. Not that I even believe in any of that stuff. It's really more about, that's the reality of the situation is, if we get enough control over our own cells, nothing outside of us can actually do anything to us. And that includes even, the gravitational impulses and forces of the higher realms. So you actually, by using your consciousness, you're the middle bridge. Okay, that this middle bridge is so important to understand. This is the forgotten hidden power. That everybody would think, oh, the sun and the moon, they control our lives. This was our ancestors. It's like, no, actually, we can control our own lives. I don't have to go, if I want to consciously, I don't have to go to sleep at night. I could go to sleep during the day. I could wake up at night, right? I can do anything that my mind wants me to do, and I can fight against the system of time and power myself, because I have the choice to do so. Well, if we do that for the right reasons and the right purposes, we can actually ascend into higher states of being. So, really, at the end of the day, this comes down to spiral energy and spiral mechanics, and it's like a stairway, right? They call it the stairway to heaven. They don't call it the elevator. You've got to go one step at a time, and you've got to see that all of oneness of reality is interconnected. Everything at the highest and lowest levels are here for us to experience, to learn about, to grow, etc. So if you like this video, thank you so very much. I appreciate you guys. I've got a few different ways that you can support me, one of which is to join my online university called Psycosmos University. We have tons of classrooms available where you can learn really cool stuff, a lot of which is deeply esoteric in nature. We've also got an AI tool as well. People are really loving the AI tool. It gives you a full astrological breakdown of your day by day. It fetches your planetary data and gives you a personalized breakdown based off of your astrology, based off of your house systems, right? So you can see here, it's telling me I need to take initial action on my goals because of where the moon is. I need to set practical goals and work steadily towards success. It says right now, emotional flow and harmony, perfect day for self-care and nurturing. It's fading just because of where the moon is right now. So it's telling me exactly what I need to focus on. It says I should focus on rest and inner life. Planetary energies align, illuminating solitude, spirituality, and releasing what no longer serves me. You can go, you can see what constellations on the horizon. It tells you about the sun and the moon. It tracks the Schumann resonance. It tells you all about the day, gives you all the active retrogrades, etc. So if this is something that interests you, you can have conversations with it. You can talk to it. It's got voice functionality. You can get the cheaper plan. It just gives you this little daily planner, which does the same thing, just on a smaller scale. And it also tracks your inner alchemy cycles, whether you're male or female. So go check out the app. Go check out the online university, the school. We would really appreciate it. And as always, I love you guys, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Take care, guys.